Everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. We're on 35 wins in a row. Take a deep breath. Okay, we got it. I like it. JPT7 SPSF. If you're gonna complain about this start, you're really gonna complain about any start in Isaac. We haven't been playing perfectly lately, but we've been doing what we need to do to win. Which honestly has been probably a little bit more than average, you know? I think we've been having to work a little bit harder than average on a couple of these more recent runs, and I ain't sweating it, you know? I'm here for the long haul. I'm here for a good time, not a long I think it's a Canadian song. As always, I know I apologize if you've heard this myriad times before. When I say it's a Canadian song, really what I'm saying is, if you don't live in Canada, you probably don't know it because of the fact that we just hear Canadian songs more often because they're forced to be played on the radio by the law. Legitimately true. To which, if you're American, I know I do this bit every time, but just work with me. They go, that's ridiculous. The radio should be a meritocracy where only the best songs get played, regardless of where they're from. Oh yeah? How often do you hear a song on the radio, America, that's not in English? You telling me the best songs in the world are in English by default? Also, if you listen to the radio, best songs? Not for a long time. Not for a long, long time. Okay, 2020 is a beautiful thing here. The money we've got is a beautiful thing here. The next step. I would like to buy a bomb, but we'll see what we got for sale in here. Well, we don't have a bomb, so that makes that easy enough. I think I'm actually gonna and this decision, and I'm not trying to make this clickbaity, this decision could cost us the game, to take Jar of Flies over a Spirit Heart, but I think early, getting the opportunity to get Jar of Flies is very nice. Now, I'll feel a little disappointed if we're fighting the pony, because we would have totally taken the pony, to get the chance to fly, saved our money maybe. But it's not like we really want an arcade on our next floor. I think we're really pretty much like dialed in here. What we have to avoid is taking a hit in a situation where, you know, it's not compulsory. There's sometimes you get hit in this game, you pretty much gotta get hit. This is not one of those times, and I'm happy to be moving on. Really, 2020 plus Holy Light is like, you can build a run around it. You can build a whole run around that. Having a few extra flies to help us out don't hurt either. Holy Light's also going to help us kill enemies fast enough that our flies won't necessarily kill every enemy, which means we're going to be able to build enemies a lot, or build flies a lot faster. Okay, this is a reroll situation. And did you see how quickly we built them there? What? Did it change? I'm joking, but also still pretty bad. That's the meat and potatoes of that sentence is still not great. It's okay. As you can see, we're pretty much steamrolling for the time being. Oh my god. No, no, no. No, no, no. This is not how I go. To get hit by the spikes... is a level of pain that I don't respect. So here's, and I'm now nervous. I was like, we're set, and now I feel compromised. I think we need to get our way to a shop. We should use one bomb to try to reroll this into something better. And then we'll save our other bomb in the hopes that there's a tinted rock, but I'm a little... Wait, no, we're fine. We have 2 HP. Why am I nervous? I forgot. We lost our Spirit Heart, which could screw up our whole deal with the devil thing, but we have 2 HP. Thank God. Thank God. Okay. So there's actually very little to concern yourself with here, as long as you're not fighting, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We should, in any situation, we should be able to beat this boss. Okay. So we are going to get our deal with the devil. Okay, but no panic, no panic. Just got a little scared temporarily. That's a great item. And hopefully no Krampus either. That's not a great item, so we'll be building this run on the attributes we already have, which is totally fine. Totally fine! When I stepped on the spikes and I still thought I was like 1-1 on HP. Oh, my heart almost stopped. I'm not quite there. I'm not quite there. You're gonna have to convince me a little bit more. I do hate using all of my bombs to not get anything out of the item room. But I think it's one of the, you know, Isaac's all about putting pressure. You know, you try to put pressure on the right spots in this game because you get a disproportionate advantage when it works out. And I think for sure, this is a pressure point. Nobody's going to be sad at losing panic power. Deadbird is also not great, but we got no recourse now. I think life is like that too. Sorry, I had to get a segue, and I thought, let's take the most cliched segue I could think of. But I do think life is like that. I think people apply pressure wrongly in life a lot of the time. I'm going to give you a classic example that I think is relatable for many people watching this. We all have had friends, or sometimes even been the person, that when the school year gets started, gets incredibly motivated. They're like, this year is going to be different. I'm going to be the greatest student. And then for a month, they pour 150% energy into every single scholastic endeavor. They take notes diligently in different colored pens to make sure that that's a note that could be on the exam. This is one where the teacher seemed like it could be on the exam but might not be. And then this is one where emphatically they said study this and blah blah blah. And then they, you know, you get those early semester assignments where there's like, you know, hey, write a paragraph about how you feel about ice cream. And they write a whole essay, and it's perfectly collated and presented. They wrote it in latex instead of a docx format. But then usually, and I'm not trying to curtail anyone's scholastic endeavors. If you want to be that kind of student who goes hard, that's great. I just hope you go hard all the time. Because otherwise, and this is the way I see it happen a lot of the time, student, you know, really gives 110% for the first month, falls off after that. By the time they get to the final exam, they're limping in. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm burned out. And what ends up happening, if you think about it mathematically, let's do this so we at least feel comfortable taking the myriad pills that will show up on the remainder of the run. Mathematically, when you think about it, they invested the bulk of their effort when it got them the least yield. You know what I mean? When the work was worth almost nothing for your final grade, they were enthusiastic. And then when it came time for the tests and the exams and the reports and the finals that are, you know, really what determines how you're going to do in the class, they were burned out and didn't want to do it anymore. I think that that's a relatable example of, you know, not putting the pressure where the pressure is best applied in your life. It applies to YouTube, let me tell you. There are YouTubers out there who are great planners and terrible executors. You don't get paid, and your audience doesn't watch your planning. They watch the execution, which I think, you know, having more dissenting voices on Check the Wire from time to time would probably be good for the, you know, to keep Dan and I, you know, on our toes a little bit instead of agreeing. But where Dan and I definitely agree a lot of the time is that depending on the type of YouTuber you are, for sure, if you do what I do, or you want to do what I do, which is make, you know, a lot of videos daily and release them, you're always going to be better off using an hour to make 2 half-hour-long videos than using an hour to plan for one video that might never come to fruition, because by the time you finish the planning, you're tired. I'm not anti-plan. One of the reasons my wife and I work so well, you know, not just from a romantic standpoint, but from an operational standpoint, to make it sound like as sterile as possible, is because she's a planner and I'm a doer. You know? But if we're going to go on vacation, this is the complementary personalities here. If we're going to go on vacation, she plans everything, and then I am basically in charge of like the day-to-day filling out, or making sure the filled out schedule actually gets executed as such. So, you know, making sure we get to the airport on time, You know, keeping us in good spirits, never saying no to anything unless it's unreasonable. You know, you get the idea. I respect the planner. The planner is kind of a necessary... I mean, again, I have an employee. He's also a friend. I'd feel weird calling him an employee. But he's a planner, you know? His job is to like, hey, you got to do this and this today, and then I go do it, you know? But I have a lot of respect for the doer. I don't know how I feel about Spider Butt here. Here's what I'm going to say. If you're going to be lazy, if you're going to be lazy in school, which I don't think you should be, I think you should try to take, and don't just be like, I do, but it doesn't work. I think you should, you know, practice taking pride in your work and you know, finding the joie de vivre in what you study. Even if you're forced to study it, you know, maybe you're in a high school, middle school, I don't know if you'd be watching this in middle school, but maybe, I don't know. Sometimes I do get tweets from people that are like, NL, I'm 19, I've been watching you for 7 years. And I'm like, hold up. What? You were watching me when you were 12? Hopefully not when I was 12. Unless you're my parents. In which case, hi, Mom. I think you should try to take pride in your scholastic duties, okay? Because what else are you going to do? Just be lazy about it for no reason? Like... Don't get me wrong, okay? Here's the thing. My preference... let's get into it. Let's get into some real stuff. Because we're, you know, talking in vague generalities. I don't necessarily believe, and I think that increasingly people in my generation and younger are coming to terms with the fact that you do not have to go to college to be successful in life. Now, if you're in a position where, you know, your parents are kind of like forcing you to go, I understand, you know, as an adult you can't be forced, but I understand the pull. I was raised like that as well, and I actually, like, enjoyed college, not just on, like, a social level, but on an academic level as well, but my degree has done nothing for me. And I've turned out okay. Through a few bouts of happenstance and good luck that, you know, I happened to be here right as this platform kind of came to fruition. But anyway, this isn't about me. Oh, I didn't realize it was illegal to be lucky. You are faster than usual, I think. However... And this is, I've really thought about, like, my educational, my philosophy of my approach to education, because we're having a daughter, you know? Remember, we're having a child. The daughter part isn't specific here, but we're having a child. Okay, rate of fire up. Hold on, we gotta think. Oh, we gotta, oh, you'd, come on, man. Come on. You'd hit me with the curse of the blind here? We can't take it. It's quite simple. We can't take it. So, you know, my parents' attitude in school was pretty pro... I think we're just going, sadly. Was pretty pro university. Especially when I was young. As I got older, my parents were like, you can do whatever you want to do, for the most part. But it had already... Their teaching had already worked at that point. They were like, if you want to get a good job, you got to go to school. You know? You got to go to college, I should say. I think, and I'm... Here's the thing, you may have principles right now that you hold dear. When you're having a kid, and we're not even there yet, but when you're having a kid, all that theory crafting you've done for your young adult life, where you're like, if I had a kid, this is how I would raise them. Guess what? You're entering a live fire environment. You're pushing changes to the production build. Well, it's already been deployed, you know? It's a live environment. So put your money where your mouth is. How strong do you actually hold those principles? So this is why I'm theory crafting it now. I think if you are within reason, and I'm going to add a lot of caveats to this, get ready. Within reason, if you are going to a normal public school, and there's no legitimate reason, you know, like some kind of, like dyslexia, something along those lines, for you to not do well, if you're not doing well merely due to a lack of effort, I think that is, let's not say inexcusable, like there's no reason for it. I know the reason, I just choose not to accept the reason. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Now let me preface, or let me add on to that. I did worse than I could have in high school, and definitely college, due to some laziness and malaise, for sure. Which is how I came to this philosophy in the first place, because I know what it's like. Now, admittedly, I don't think I'm like, you know, genetically a genius or whatever. But I do think because I was read to a lot as a child and learned to read fairly quickly and then read a lot myself, I had an advantage in school naturally for a long time because so much of school, especially early on, is based on reading. You know, if you can read, you can do the assignments easier. You do the assignments easier, you do better. You do better, you get praise. Now it becomes part of your identity. I'm the guy who does well, you know? It's a little scary here, just one second. So admittedly, I've got to acknowledge my own personal bias in there. However, here's what I'm going to say. I'm not one of those parents who, well, I'm not even there yet again. And this is, again, merely theory crafting, because who knows what's going to happen when we enter that live fire environment. But I'm not one of those parents, in theory, that's like, you got to get straight A's in high school so you can go to Harvard and be a doctor or whatever. I am surrounded in this industry by people who are 10 times more successful than me that are not as book smart. And that's fine. That's not me saying they don't deserve it and I do because I've read Anna Karenina. It's me saying there's different ways to become successful in life and not all of them pass through school. Some of them, and some of the most reliable ones do. So, you know, if our daughter is 17 and she's in 12th grade, and she's getting, you know, C's with no good reason, I'll be a little bit upset. If she gets straight A's, and then after high school, she's like, I want to go work at Subway, more power to you. Sincere, I might be like, come on, Subway? You can go work at Jimmy John's. Man, we don't even have Jimmy John's here. I'm just flexing. I know that people say Subway's bad. I eat there now and then, and I like it. So you know what? Now that they've settled their lawsuit with the Canadian public, I don't mind promoting Subway passively at least. But that's the way I look at it. My philosophy is a little bit too blue sky thinking, I'll admit. But my philosophy is, you know, especially like as a child, you should... as a teenager too, and a young adult, you should do whatever you're doing with the full force of your spirit, you know? If you're gonna be spending 8 hours a day in school, you should do well. Alternatively, if you're doing badly in school, it better be because you got a side hustle going on. If you're doing badly in school because you're like, I don't know, I didn't want to go to class these days. And I'm like, what did you do? And they're like, I just sat outside and looked at a tree. Look, there's a time and a place for that, don't get me wrong. But could you just go to the class and then do it after? But then once you're, you know, at an adult age, I'm not saying it like, you know, it's hands off. I'm just saying it's, you know, if you're like, I did the whole school thing. Now I want to try something else. Now I want to try being an influencer. Now I want to try being a chef. Now I want to try being an artist, whatever. As long as you throw yourself into that with enthusiasm and passion, I'm going to be for it. I'd much rather, you know, our child come to us and be like, I want to go to, you know, I'm not even at all looking down on like chef work or cook work or etc. But you know, it is when we talk about like prestigious jobs, a lot of times people will be like, well, it's nice, but it's not a dentist, you know? I would much rather pay for you to go to, you know, Le Cordon Bleu School of Culinary Arts and have you love it than pay for you to go to dental school and just be going through the motions, right? Sometimes I do feel misrepresented. And this run's getting mighty dangerous, by the way. I do feel misrepresented on my educational beliefs, by the way. Sometimes people hear me say what I say about, like, high school, and they're like, you know, what about, oh, so there's no value in, like, having fun? I don't know. Like, I can only speak to my own personal experiences, but I did very well in high school, and also had so much free time that I was bored constantly. And then people have the audacity to tell me it was different back then. You think I went to high school in the 1940s? It was like a decade ago. It's slightly more than a decade ago, but not by much. I'm not saying it hasn't changed, by the way. The real argument you should be making is that I went to a school that ended up probably being a little easier than a lot of schools. But, I've now given... Oh, no. I've given you too much information now. Too much power. Let me out, please. But really, I'm like... I think you can do both. I think you can definitely, in high school, have fun, have a social life, and still do what you need to do to get good marks. In most situations, because then people are like, well, what if you're an ESL student, or what if you have like a learning disability? I'm like, yeah, that's why I baked that in at the front. You think you're at some point, you just have to look yourself in the mirror and say, why do I want this guy to be a bad person when he baked in the good person stuff right at the top? Of course, there's genuine reasons. I'm just saying in a broad sense. So yeah, I definitely think there's value in that. We're not going to boss rush here. Just be straight up with one another. Okay, dude, can I tell you? I'm mostly cheesed on this run. We've got no reroll machines. Or not enough. We need one more cent. I think we might end up going tarot cloth deck of cards. Even though we got a lot of mileage out of jar of flies. Jar of flies. Jar of flies ain't gonna take us for much more time. Okay. But that's my relatively level-headed approach. You know, it definitely, like... I've seen a lot of, like, anecdotally situations where, like, people really want to be a doctor, a denter. That's a new one. A dentist, an anesthesiologist, a pharmacologist, a pharmacist, etc., an orthodontist, an endodontist, etc., for what I would describe as the wrong reasons. Now, I also am a little bit boomerish, for sure, okay? I believe that, and you might be a little upset at me for what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I believe that, you know, we, in Canada at least, and especially, I can't speak for the current generation, but for my generation, we were raised a little bit pie in the sky, a little bit like, you know, if you can't do the job that you're passionate about, then, like, that's the worst thing in the world. And I'll admit, it sucks. But I also think that there's some value in doing a job that you don't necessarily dislike, but a job that provides an essential service, like a dentist, for example. And maybe you're not like, oh, I'm super passionate about dentistry, because I don't know, you know, if everybody had to get a job they were passionate about, I'm just saying there'd be a whole lot more people doing what I do, and a whole lot less people, you know, picking up garbage. And you need, well, you really need the garbage more than you need me, let's be honest. Where was I going with this? There was a point. There was a point, okay? Hold on, this is a doubled Yera. I have to think about this, because this run, it really started to throw me for a loop. Pop this down, use it. We get a Sun card and a Yera card. I think we throw this down, and then use our Yera. We don't have blank card. We get our HP. And then we get some Sun cards. We can only carry one at a time. That's okay. Get me out of here. I think there's, you know, if you're out here, you're watching this, and you're like, you know, I'm doing a job that you know, my parents wanted me to do that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. I have a close friend who is like, basically went into the medical field because that's what you do when you're in his family. And, well, we don't really want that. But we might as well take some extra money out of it. And he's like, he likes the perks of the job. Don't get me wrong. He makes a good amount of money. But he does not really enjoy doing the actual job itself. And you know what his life is like from the outside looking in? Totally fine. I don't want to say that he's, you know, he's living his best life, but I think he's living closer to the top than the bottom. Let's put it that way. It's kind of a sad thought to say, don't get me wrong. I don't say this to bring people down, but I don't think everybody can do their dream job, because there's a lot of jobs that need to be done. And I'm getting out of the idea, like let me put it this way. I know that there's, maybe with automation and stuff like that, and, you know, perhaps the rise of a universal basic income or something, then maybe it doesn't apply. But I'm talking about, you know, our society as it's worked for like the past, you know, 300 years since the Industrial Revolution or whatever. I don't think there's enough room for everybody to do their dream job, because there's like relatively few dream jobs and a lot of people that dream the same dream about them. Not trying to salt it up. I know this is probably a little depressing episode, but like, I think that's sincere, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think you would take pride in being like, you know, help me. Like, and I'm trying to flip it around, because I think it sounds bad, but in my head, I'm like, it sounds good. I'm like, I think you should take pride in being like a pizza delivery guy. You're doing a service for people, and in that moment, those people love you. When you get that hot, fresh pizza at your door, you're like, this is incredible. You have become a deity to that person in that moment. So if you want, I guess where I'm looping back around to this is like, ideally you would do a job you're passionate about, rather than do a job just because, you know, your folks wanted you to do it. But if you end up getting sucked into that, I hope it's working out for you too. I'm not anti-college, like we talk about on the NLSS now and then. I think some of my colleagues are fairly anti-college, and I understand it. Because for a lot of people, college was not the right place to be. And they, like for me, college was the right place to be. I have a respect for learning. I like reading, and I like lectures, and I you know, I've gone back as an adult, you know, to take more classes and stuff like that. Now, that being said, my degree is worth nothing. Except, you know, getting you a foot in the door, maybe. For things where it's like a strict requirement to have a degree. But it really has to be any degree. Because we have a Sun card, we can totally do this. But we gotta be a little careful. But for me as a person, it was a nice place to be. However, I don't think we can do it. I think we just start here. Forget Guppy, by the way. How did this go so wrong? What I was gonna say is the right place for me as a person. Personally, college fit well, and it probably does for many of you as well. But if you're the kind of person that college does not fit with well, I can understand why you would resent the fact that probably for your whole life people were like, you gotta go to college. Then you went to college, didn't enjoy it, and when you got out, ended up doing a job that was not related to your degree at all, and went, why the heck do I have so much debt? I guess that's the other thing. It is like pretty cheap here. Compared to America, at least. I know in Europe, you're like, they paid me to go to college. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. It's still pretty cheap in Canada. As compared to America. Just remember who we're pointing the finger at here. Hold on, this run's getting... Is the show with spicy runs and even spicier questions. Anyway, I think I think it's a path, and if it works for you, then great. It could have worked for me if I had legitimately just tried harder in college. And then also, I mean, it would have worked out poorly for me because I'd probably be, you know, doing a job that used my degree, but, you know, wasn't as fun as what I'm doing right now. But it would have been like a good decision at the time from like an objective standpoint based on what we knew at that point, at least. But regardless, I also feel like, I don't know, I feel like people argue about it in a way that I disagree with. Doesn't mean they're wrong, but I disagree. They're like, well, if you had enjoyed it more, you probably would have worked harder. And I'm like, nah, I don't think you can base everything in life on that. Like, you know, some of the reasons I, like, didn't work as hard as I could have in college was because Like, sometimes I was like, I'm having fun with my friends. That's not always a valid reason, but I think it's occasionally valid, and that's kind of like, I think that's worth it now and then, for sure. You know, I'm not a monster. Some of the times I was like, Civ 4 is more fun than molecular genetics, you know, full stop. You gotta put in some checks and balances there. How is molecular genetics supposed to compete with Civ 4? As an educator, I don't think it's possible. I think sometimes you just gotta accept, and this is why I always advocate for doing things you find unpleasant, honestly. It took me too long to learn the lesson. Yeah, we want it. Sometimes you just gotta train the muscle of doing things that you don't want to do because they're worth doing. Or you could end up like me, accidentally falling backwards into like a pretty good job. And you wouldn't want that. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. I really expected this whole run to be done before I could get myself in trouble. And then it took a turn for the worse. But now we got enough spirit arts to keep it going. But yeah, those are my 2 cents. You know, I genuinely do not care if our daughter wants to be an astronaut. Well, I shouldn't say I don't care. I have no preference. Oh, except for maybe one's based on, like, job safety over my child being a doctor or a dentist or a YouTuber or the prime minister or, you know, working at a recycling depot or owning a stationery store. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not worried about the secondhand prestige at all. I hope, and this is the take-home message, I guess, that by encouraging them to do well in school... Hold on. It's so risky, but work with me on that. Okay, so I think we're at 2 hearts still, with a lot of spirit arts backing us up. I hope that by encouraging our child to be good in school, I am not going... And this is, again, perfect world thinking. Who knows how it's going to turn out. They might be like, F you, Dad, I hate you. At which point, we've done something wrong, I assume. But, is not to be like, you know... school is above all else. It is rather just to start the habit of doing whatever you do with full enthusiasm, rather as much as enthusiasm as you can muster for 9th grade chemistry, instead of like, just wait till this is over and, you know, if you do well enough you can get a decent job. You know, kind of inverting the carrot and the stick there. That's my thoughts on that. These are things you gotta think about. I mean, you probably don't have to think about them. I would like to think that you benefit from thinking about them so that you know where your priorities lie, you know? Same thing with, like, it's easy to say it now. But I definitely do not want to coddle our child. Everybody seems to disagree. Well, let me rephrase. Everyone seems to agree that coddling is not good for a child. However, I guess in practice, it becomes easy to coddle the child because it's not pleasant to see your child in pain or discomfort. I think a kid's got to skin some, you know, their knees from time to time. I don't know. I didn't have like a bad childhood by any means. As I've spoken about many, many times, actually, I had like a very, very good childhood. I, you know, got some injuries, got the wind knocked out of me a couple times. Interpersonal disputes on the playground, definitely skinned some knees. Came home with grass stains on my Levi's, oftentimes. Ooh, that's more HP than you'd like to lose there. Start here. Oh, this is interesting. I think you don't take Guardian Angel. I think you do go through with this. I really wanted one more Spirit Heart. This gives us 2 stat upgrades. It's real hard for me to say no. And then we get to get the fortune teller maybe, or the slot machine to bring down to the next floor. Okay, speed and luck. I just want to see my HP, please. Like, this run, it's so good for a run that never really hit that upper threshold. Okay, I can see my HP. It's not a lot. I'm choosing not to take damage. I am choosing not to take damage. In my head, I was like, for a brief second, I accepted taking some damage. Oh my god. I fought back against it. I said to myself, no. We do not accept this damage. Take it back. I didn't order this damage. I think we should try that. If we can make it to the chest, the luck is going to be pretty good. The luck could be worth a lot. Oh, why would you walk into it? We're relying on tarot cloth deck of cards to do some serious work for us. It's a way scarier run than you would have thought, dude. Anyway. Even I was coddled too much, is what I was gonna say. So, like, you know, nowadays, I'm very laissez-faire. Like, yesterday, I was just in the... And this is not rare. You know, this is a very common thing. But, you know, I was, like, doing some household chores. And I bumped my shin really hard against, like, this stone bench that we have. And I was like, that really hurts. But I was still just carrying on, like, a normal conversation with Kate the whole time. Then, like, 2 hours later, I was like... my shin feels pretty bad, and I rolled up my pant leg, and my shin was covered in blood. Not like my leg was lost, but you know what I mean when I say that, I assume. You know, there was like a decent amount of, you know, dried blood on my shin, and she was like, oh my god, what happened? And I was like, a couple hours ago, I like bumped it hard. And you know, I feel like some people, not the majority of people, but some people, they enjoy the sympathy you get from bringing that up, like, oh yeah, it really hurts. Like, give me more attention. I'm, on the other hand, I'm like, you know, I find it insulting that you think this little injury would even move the needle in terms of my day. If anything, it was a privilege to feel the pain, to remember what pain felt like, and become more able to deal with it in the future. You know, I have like a stupid attitude is what I'm trying to say. But even I was coddled too much. Like, I maintain... One of the reasons millennials, myself included, I think there's multiple reasons millennials do not enjoy talking on the telephone. One of them being that text is just better, but one of them is that, like, when I had a problem as a kid that required the phone, it defaulted to my mom, no matter what. Even if I had a problem with my teacher, that makes sense. Your mom's gonna call the school, you know? But when, like... Even as, like, a university student, I would be like, Mom, how do I cook scallops? Or, like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. I'd be like, you know, I don't know. I guess I don't have an answer for that. I don't have a specific example. But I do remember, like, even when I lived at home after Korea, my mom was basically, like, my business manager. If I ever had a problem, like, and, you know... Again, different people will feel differently about this. I feel like one of the points of growing up is to become, not self-sufficient because that's unrealistic, but to be able to solve problems and handle, like, basic adult tasks yourself. And it took me a little longer, not too long, but it took me a little longer than average to get there, I think, because my mom was so eager to help out, which was a great thing for her to do, don't get me wrong. But, like, it also created, like, a weird situation in the sense that, like, I had unrealistic expectations. Like, can I tell you something? My mom did all of my laundry and packed lunches for me essentially every day of school until I was in university. So that's rare, for one. And also very cute. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate it. You laid the scaffolding for me to do as well as I did in school. Oh, I hit Q, dude! Secondarily... not only did my mom do my laundry, but every time I showered, I used a new towel. And every time, like every day, I wore a different pair of jeans. So there was 7 jeans and 7 towels made per week on top of a normal human being's laundry. That's, in case you're wondering, Maybe you're in a similar boat. That's my own fault, unfortunately. That's too much. You can call me gross for this if you want. I've spoken about it with many people. I assure you that if you wear a new pair of denim jeans every single day and wash them every single time you wear them, you are in the minority and other people are talking about you. Is it bad? I don't care. Really, whether it's bad for the jean or whatever. I believe the answer is yes, but let's be honest, most of us are probably not wearing the kind of denim where we're too worried about, like, oh, you know, it's been washed too much. Most of us are out here, myself included, wearing like a $22 pair of Dockers, alright? It's more that, you know, you don't have to, they don't smell. They're a stiff fabric that doesn't, you know, soak up that. I mean, you know, you're not doing sports in these things. You're not wearing them to the gym, hopefully. So it's a situation where you just don't need to wash them that much. Now, a towel is a little different. I think that you certainly do not need to use a new towel every time you take a shower. And if you think, yes, you do, the only way I will take your opinion seriously is if you do your own laundry. If somebody else does your laundry or you pay to have your laundry done, that is your choice on that latter one. But if someone else does your laundry or you pay to have it done by like a service or whatever, your opinion here is invalid. If you do your own laundry and you wash your towels every time they're used, stop. This is a good series of items, dude. That's pretty solid. It doesn't offend me that you do it, but you are about to save probably like 2 loads of laundry and folding and drying per month. What you're doing does not need to happen. It's not bad to do it. If you enjoy doing it, that's a different story. Please, by all means. It just is. It's overkill. You know. I appreciate you're staying clean, okay? But that's a little. It's more than is necessary. The Hanged Man, huh? Don't really want Ace of Clubs either, to be real with you, but here we are. So when I went to, my mom is like old school laundry too. She separates, you know, the white clothing from the multicolored clothing. She uses bleach on the white clothings and, you know, blah, blah, blah. When I went to university and started doing my own chores, that got simplified real fast. Even now, both my wife and I are much cleaner than I was in university, obviously. And I've been doing laundry for more than a decade now. Until 2 years ago, I just put all the clothes in this, unless there was a special, like, oh, there's a heavy stain in this one that needs to come out or whatever. Until, like, 2 years ago, all clothes basically just went into a hamper, which then I threw into the washing machine and didn't separate it at all. Now, I separate light wear, like everyday wear, underwear, socks, t-shirts, blah, 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 from, like, sweaters and stuff like that, because then you just don't need to wash the sweaters out. Like, if you're wearing an undershirt under your sweater, you can wear it, like, 2 times. I don't know, you might even be able to wear it, like, 3 or 4 times, to be honest with you. I'm telling you, I smell myself. I know I'm okay. I'm paranoid about that stuff. So I'm here to tell you, if you're like, maybe you're going to college soon, and you're not on Zoom University right now, that's a hip thing Zoomers say to each other when they're on quarantine classes. Ah, come on. You might be thinking, oh, I'm so stressed out about laundry, you gotta do the separation and this and that. Wrong, you do not. And you don't have to do it. If you are on the soccer team, come on, dude. Can we talk about the lack of consumables we've had, too? If you're on the soccer team, you're getting a lot of... And, you know, you're wearing your away jerseys that are white and you're sliding on the grass a lot? Sure. Maybe. The rest of it is Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson propaganda. I promise you. Oh, my God. You've saved me. You've saved me. We were in a world of confusion. Hello, Tomo. His name is Tomo. He's Tomo. He's named Tomo. He's Tomo, no, no. Tomo, no. He's Tomo. Okay. Sorry, can you forgive me that little 12-second song? I really thought we were about to lose the streak. And I don't know if I'm just blind to it, but I thought we played a pretty good game. So it would have hurt me a great deal, honestly. This one, I mean, our damage I don't think has changed since the first floor. We got a lot of good stuff going on, don't get me wrong, but the damage being unchanged since the first floor is a real kick in the teeth. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on everything in the universe, particularly laundry. I'll also say, laundry as a chore, I'm trying to help you not get taken advantage of, okay? Laundry as a chore is not that bad. If you're ever doing like a chore wheel or something, some chores are a lot more time intensive than others. Some chores are a little bit less enjoyable than others because they're a little stinky. So laundry is an almost passive chore. If somebody tries to be like, I'll do the laundry, you got to renegotiate that deal. It's not good enough. Straight up. Laundry is basically shoving things into a machine, putting soap in, pushing a button, doing whatever the heck you want for about 40 minutes, and then moving those to another machine, pressing a button, and then doing whatever you want for an hour, and then a little folding at the end. If someone is ever like, I did laundry all day. No, you didn't. You watched TV. You did laundry for about half an hour, which is still, I appreciate it, don't get me wrong. This is not a situation that comes up with my wife. We do the laundry together. So just so you know, this is not the way I speak to people in my life. But, you know, in my head, I'm like, come on. Now, what's on the flip side? Vacuuming. Vacuuming, especially if you have a pet, takes longer than laundry. There's more active work. And then secondarily, should be done more frequently than laundry. It's not like when your floors have a bunch of cat hair on them, you'll go, it's okay, I've got 4 more floors in the closet I could just put on. We don't have to vacuum today. You know, you got to get that stuff handled ASAP. Well, maybe not ASAP. You know, the ultimate chore is dishes. If you're ever doing a chore wheel situation and someone offers to do the dishes as their permanent role, you have an ethical and moral obligation as their friend or roommate to stop them. Having the dishes as your chore is like doing the laundry every day. And it's the worst part of doing the laundry because if you're living in a shared situation, you don't really see your own laundry. You only see the laundry that you're doing for somebody else. I know. It's like when I'm doing the laundry and it's all my clothes in a load somehow, I'm like, this is fine. If it's like 50-50, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this generous act of charity. Just not the way it should feel, let's put it that way. But anyway, we made it. That was a real nail-biter down towards the end, but what's done is done. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. Really do click the like button. If you watched all 48 minutes and 40 seconds, let's not overshadow this, dude. It's the single best way you can help support a content creator you watch a lot of and for a long term. And of course, we did just get our 36th win in a row. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.